Welcome to RJ Academy, and today I will teach you Class 12, Chapter Keeping Quiet. Think about your average day. We are constantly rushing from one task to the next, checking our phones, worrying about tomorrow, and scrambling to get things done. Most of the time, our lives are a high-speed blur. We rarely stop to ask ourselves where we are actually going or why we are in such a hurry to get there. To help us make sense of this chaos, we turn to the poet Pablo Neruda. For your exams, it is helpful to know that his real name was Neftali Ricardo Reyes Basoalto, and his profound observations on human nature earned him the Nobel Prize in Literature in 1971. In this poem, Neruda asks us to participate in a simple but powerful thought experiment. He asks everyone in the world to count to 12, representing the 12 hours on a clock or the 12 months of the year, and then hit pause. For one single moment, nobody moves, nobody speaks. This freeze frame is about bringing the noisy, dividing engines of humanity to a complete halt. By choosing to stop, we strip away all the loud distractions and force a moment of total equality across the globe. Imagine the immediate physical reality of that pause. There would be no roaring car engines, no rushing crowds, and nobody yelling over each other. Crucially, nobody would speak. Without different languages to build walls between us, the divisions we rely on every day simply vanish. The syllabus calls the feeling of this moment a sudden strangeness. It would feel beautifully unfamiliar because in that quiet second, billions of people would lose their labels. You aren't a doctor, a lawyer, a politician, or a student anymore. You are just a human being, standing alongside everyone else. Stepping out of our daily rush gives us a rare opportunity. It is the only way we can look at the world and each other exactly as we are, free from the noise and pressure of society. To understand the real-world impact of this stillness, Neruda shifts our focus away from the city and out to the cold sea, observing exactly what happens to the natural world when human action stops. He uses the example of a fisherman. In this quiet moment, the fisherman stops hunting whales. By laying down his nets, he halts the endless cycle of destroying nature purely for human profit. The whales get a moment to breathe. Then the poem moves to the shoreline to look at a man who spends his days gathering salt. Because the salt gatherer is forced to pause, he finally has the time to look down. For the first time all day, he notices his own hands, cracked and bleeding from the harsh work. Our drive for productivity damages the environment while simultaneously blinding us to the wounds we inflict on our own bodies. When we never stop to look at ourselves, we ignore the price we are paying for our own success. Neruda then pivots to the most extreme result of human rushing: conflict. He asks us to look at those who spend their entire lives preparing for wars. He points specifically to green wars, the way we bulldoze forests and wipe out ecosystems under the banner of progress and social development. He also points to the terrifying reality of modern combat, wars fought with chemical gas and wars fought with fire and bullets. Neruda asks a deeply practical question. What is the point of winning any of these wars if your environment is ruined and there are no survivors left alive to celebrate the victory with you? He calls for us to stop moving our arms. On the surface, he means our physical hands and feet, but he is also asking humanity to lower its mechanical weapons and firearms. Instead of fighting, these soldiers would put on clean clothes. They would walk out into the shade of the trees and sit calmly alongside their former enemies, resting together as brothers. True peace requires us to abandon our aggressive, single-minded drive to win at all costs. When the rushing stops, we are finally able to recognize our shared humanity with the very people we thought we had to fight. Neruda's call for stillness shouldn't be mistaken for laziness or the silence of the grave. He isn't advocating for death. He is advocating for a better way to live. We live with a constant underlying sadness because we are so obsessed with keeping our lives moving that we never truly understand ourselves. A huge silence acts as a medicine, interrupting that sadness so we can finally heal. We can see how this works by looking at the ground beneath our feet. Think of a tiny seed in winter. On the frozen surface, the ground looks completely dead and still. But below the dirt, it is actively resting, absorbing nutrients, and quietly preparing for vibrant new life when the spring rains arrive. Silence is an active process. Stepping back to reflect and gather our strength is the required preparation for building a more intentional future. Having shown us the incredible power of this silent pause, the poet gently brings us back to the immediate present. His initial count to 12 is finished. He tells us that it is now our turn to keep quiet, and he leaves. He steps away, trusting that we have understood how to carry this stillness forward. The cycle of destruction breaks when we choose to pause, listen, and look at the world with fresh eyes. Notes of this chapter is in the description. Catch you next time.